Recently, the Florida Department of Health in Hillsborough County had the opportunity to host a summit that was focused on finding solutions to one of our most urgent public health problems, obesity. My name is Dr. Leslie Gordon, Community Health Director of the Health Department in Hillsborough County, and it's my pleasure to share with you details from a recent Community Action Summit entitled Solutions for Accelerating Progress in Reducing the Weight of Hillsborough County. Before going to the conference, let me give you some background on why we thought it was important to host this summit. Obesity is a problem in Hillsborough County. A quarter of our population is obese. According to data from the Florida Department of Health, 25.3% of adults in our county are obese, and 64.6% of the adult population are overweight or obese. It's a problem that impacts our healthcare costs and is a risk factor for a number of other chronic diseases. Not that cost is the most important factor, but it is a consideration. If we lowered our obesity rate by only 5%, we could save more than $12 billion in related healthcare costs in Florida and have fewer people suffering from diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and cancer. Also important is the fact that while public health practitioners and medical doctors and scientists see it as a problem, it is seen as the #1 health concern of Hillsborough County residents. In a recent health assessment survey completed by the Health Department, 43.4% of respondents who were residents of Hillsborough County felt that overweight was one of our most important health problems. It's a problem for which we must find a solution. This program that you're about to see shares one of the Health Department's efforts to raise awareness and find solutions. The program will be aired in 3 parts. In part 1, our policymakers and elected officials introduce and describe the issue. This segment also includes an excellent presentation by Institute of Medicine committee members who provide details on the challenge from their recent report, Accelerating Progress in Obesity Prevention, Solving the Weight of the Nation. This Institute of Medicine report supports the Health Department's approach for impacting the problem in our county, a systems-focused approach, one that combines efforts in various settings. It's time for us to bring together people from every sector of our community, policymakers, healthcare providers, the business community, and school officials and community residents to jointly address this issue. We need to do more than telling people to eat less and exercise more. And when we give people this message, we need to be sure that they do have access to healthy foods and safe places to be physically active. Obesity is a complex problem that requires comprehensive strategies to promote community and individual transformative change. No one sector, no one program can fix the problem. In part 2, we'll have an opportunity to explore the national recommendations resulting from the Institute of Medicine's work. The conference was focused on finding solutions, and in part 3, you'll have the opportunity to hear about actions that are being proposed by summit participants as initial broad approaches to reducing the prevalence of obesity in our county. We will also talk about the role each of us as individuals can play in solving the problem. Let's join the program with Dr. Douglas Holt as he opens the conference.
Good morning, everyone. I'll ask y'all to find a seat, get comfortable. I feel the energy in the room. This is very exciting. My name is Dr. Doug Holt. I'm the Hillsborough County Health Officer for the state of Florida Department of Health. And yoo-hoo, isn't it great to be here, guys? Come on now. I know all the work that has gone into this. A few little housekeeping, you know, those phones and all those other gadgets, put them on vibrate, whatever works for you. Pretty much all the programs are going to be in here, including lunch, but the breakout sessions will be upstairs. And I think hopefully everybody's figured out where the bathrooms and all the others are, but I guess why don't we just get started? I'm going to just start off talking in, it's kind of like preaching to the choir here. I feel a little awkward, but you know, the numbers are very shocking. But it also, our biggest challenge is sometimes I think they're kind of numbing. You know, the problem of obesity continues to worsen. There's some progress made in some areas, but we lose ground in others over the years. In Florida, 1 in 4, 25% of the high schoolers, 65% of the adults are overweight or obese. The State Surgeon General has described obesity and overweight as the #1 public health issue. Duh. No, I'm just kidding. This unhealthy weight really does lead to a lot of higher risk of chronic illness conditions, hypertension, diabetes, asthma, cancer, arthritis. Although there's some interesting corollaries, and you go on the internet and you'll find contrary opinions. My daughter at Wake Forest had to write a debate and take the side that it was bad for you, but amazingly, there is plenty out there that will argue that point. But you know, I can't forget that it is also correlated with your overall economic life, your promotions, or other things. The discrimination of obesity gives that picture of that lazy, lack of discipline, you know. Don't talk about that much, although it gotten some publicity, right? Governor Christie, is he qualified? Come on. This issue is very complex. It takes the combined effort of the communities, work sites, schools, clinical partners, everyone who we have here in the room, elected officials. It has to be culturally sensitive. The State Surgeon General is trying to package or give the perspective not from the negative or disease paradigm to more of a positive, which is for individuals to find their healthy weight, the healthy weight for healthiest state. It's one of his strategic partners. I think importantly, as he notes and others, that while there's a lot of attention that comes from the feds, the states, just like politics, all the solutions are local. The core question, I think, for all of us is within our local area of influence, which extends out of our culture for us as a society, but starts with us individually, is how do we create that culture that encourages individuals to reach and maintain that healthiest weight? Obviously, the motivation has to begin with individuals, but what can we do as a community, as a society, to make things a little easier than it is now? Some of our objectives, we want to engage various sectors, the government, schools, our faith-based institutions, healthcare, work sites, everyone in this systems approach to find really multifactorial solutions and accelerate the progress in addressing obesity. I don't know if some of y'all have seen that, you know, you can look at portions of the population of children, and there's some good news. Have y'all seen any of the public, you know, talk about but the issue is most of that is happening in children of college graduates, or so you're still seeing the economic and the other disparities creating still a subset of a problem. So it's important to know the facts as we go through things to communicate effectively. It is my honor to introduce, but before I introduce them, I want to first acknowledge and thank both Mayor Bob Buckhorn and County Commissioner Ken Hagan for coming today, but all they've done before to help us convene this summit, and I want to ask everyone to give them that round of applause, and thank you very much. I would also like to recognize Ms. Susan Valdez from our school district. You know, very exciting. Our offices are just a block away, separated by the crosstown. but we've been really working wonderful with them for years, and they are taking great leadership. We'll be talking to y'all about our dental initiatives that you guys have allowed us. So we're really excited that you're continuing to be with us here. Thank you. So without further ado, let me first ask the Honorable Mayor Bob Buckhorn to come up and grab the microphone. Thank you, Bob.
Good morning, everybody. I am happy to report today that the city of Tampa has the healthiest squirrels in America. They can chew through anything. They are fit, and thankfully that one is dead. It's nice to be here to not talk about squirrels or tornadoes or anything else. It's quite a relief, you know, just another day in the mayor's office. But what you're doing here is important, and it's always great to see my friend Ken Hagan here. Both Ken and I were student athletes in college. I played lacrosse at Penn State. Ken played baseball for some little school up around Gainesville somewhere, and really, it's one of those small universities. It don't matter much in the scheme of things, but so we get it. I mean, we get it. This weekend was a perfect example. The Gasparilla race took place in Tampa and along Bayshore Boulevard, and it was really gratifying to me when I got up on that stage to do my thing and look out over what turned out to be close to 30,000 people that participated in that race. I mean, they literally stretched for blocks. I participated in all 4 races. I am exhausted today. That pace car that I rode in was really tiring. I see Mo there. She was, she's always trying to get me back in the gym, which I desperately need to do. And sooner or later, maybe in about 6 years when I get some time, Mo, I'll come back. But it really is important what you're doing today. I have 2 daughters. They're 7 and 11. And, when you were an athlete once, you sort of have those things ingrained in you. You understand what it's like to train. You understand what it's like to compete. You understand what it's like to develop those healthy habits as a young person. Both of my daughters are competitive swimmers. They're 7 and 11. They swim. My 11-year-old swims 5 days a week, 2 hours a night. And when I grab that little girl to hug her, it's not little girl muscles anymore. I mean, it's thick, solid. She's got bigger shoulders than I do at age 11. But it's important. And it's important for a lot of reasons. Not only does it build healthy habits for them for the duration of their lives, but it's also important because it keeps them busy, it keeps them out of trouble, it keeps them away from boys, most importantly. Can't do a lot of flirting when you're holding your breath. Swimming a 500 butterfly, not a lot of flirting going on there. That's a good thing. But we as a community have an obligation as well. I mean, at the city of Tampa, and I'm sure it's true with the government that Ken presides over, we're trying to take initiatives to get our employees healthier. Not only does it help because it keeps them alive a little bit longer, but it helps on the bottom line too. Because when we look at escalating medical costs, it is directly proportional to the health of our employees. And so we've set up clinics in the city of Tampa for our employees. We've got a program going on right now where many of them are wearing pedometers, and they are out there walking, and the winner gets whatever they get. Hopefully it's not lunch with the mayor. Rubber chicken's not a good thing if you're trying to be less obese. But we're trying to do the best we can. But I think as elected officials, we have an obligation to use the pulpit that was given to us. I had the opportunity a number of months ago to participate in an event that the First Lady did with Goya Foods. As Goya Foods, which obviously is targeted at the Hispanic population, is trying to move the production and what it sells to a more healthy product, which is really, really important. And the First Lady came to Tampa to celebrate that with the Goya Foods CEO. And I think the fact that she is using her pulpit and her immense popularity to take this case to the American public really is important. I mean, just as Nancy Reagan 30 years ago talked about saying no to drugs, and that entered into the vernacular of our discussion, I think also what Michelle Obama is doing in terms of obesity and getting healthy and 60 minutes of exercise a day, really is going to be important. But all of you as healthcare providers, many of you know I'm married to a doctor. She's an OBGYN, which means she's of no use to me whatsoever. Although I will tell you, it doesn't stop her from giving me advice, but I don't know if this is true with you, Doug, but my wife takes great pleasure during flu season because she gets to give me my flu shot. Now, she is this is the only flu shot that I have ever gotten with a needle that's about as big as this camera that requires the doctor get a running start to give it to you. Now, there's something wrong with that, Doug. You need to tell Kathy she doesn't need a running start to stick me with a needle. But thank you for what you're doing. Ken and I, and Ken's going to follow me, and Susan, we're going to do our part to make sure that we use the vehicles that we have to get the message out. We're going to do our part internal to our organizations, but we need to make the case that this community needs to be healthier. There's no reason why we are not. You know, the environment and the ability to be outdoors and active 365 days, except for when tornadoes are coming, is here. We have it. I mean, we've got a great natural environment. So whether you're swimming or playing tennis or walking on base or getting on your treadmill, there's no excuse why we are not doing it. And so let's spread that message. Let's get it out there. Mo, I'm coming to the gym at some point. I'm coming to the gym. That's what I'm afraid of. But thank you all for what you're doing, and let's keep it up.
Yeah, there's a reason the doctors don't usually give shots. I don't know, Kathy's making an exception. I used to always, when I was growing up and wanted to be a doctor, I said, yeah, I don't want to be the one giving the shots. That's scaring to the kids. But next, I'd like to invite the Honorable Ken Hagan. He's the chairman of the Hillsborough County Commission. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's always great to be here with my friends, school board member Susan Valdez and Mayor Buckhorn. The mayor does a phenomenal job leading our city, and I only hate it when I have to follow him speaking because he's such an exceptional speaker. I always ask to go ahead of him, but for some reason that never works out that way. But it is a great pleasure to join you here and to welcome you to today's summit on obesity, entitled Solutions for Accelerating Progress in Reducing the Weight of Hillsborough County. And the title is a mouthful, of course, but it embodies the direction that we as policymakers must embark. I want to thank the Hillsborough County Health Department for bringing us all together to challenge the status quo to obesity, and also a special thank you to the events planning committee and sponsors. Many of you know me as chair of the Hillsborough County Commission, but many years ago, as the mayor indicated, was fortunate enough to play a little baseball, and currently I wear another hat, and that is of a youth baseball coach, and I've enjoyed coaching baseball for a number of years. I've personally seen the growth and development mentally, emotionally, and physically that takes place when youth participate in team sports and are active. I've often said that many of life's greatest lessons can be learned on the ball fields. Yet over the years, I've also witnessed an alarming trend, and children are often less active overall and are more prone to obesity. And it's not just me, I'm not the only one noticing this, or parents. Dr. Holt shared some of the statistics earlier, but statistics show that 1 out of 3 children are obese today. And obesity early on in life is contributing to an alarming rise in childhood diabetes and other ailments. Further, we're told that an unhealthy start can lead to an adulthood of disability and disease, which brings me to another point. In many cases, adults in our town and our community are simply not setting the right examples for our boys and girls. These same statistics show that 2 out of 3 adults are either overweight or obese. As a nation, as a county, our population is overweight, and we can't afford the health impacts of loss of productivity, loss of quality of life, and the overall rise in healthcare cost. Experts tell us that obesity-related medical costs in general are expected to rise significantly, especially because today's obese children are likely to become tomorrow's obese adults. I would argue that it's probably the most significant health challenge that we face at this time, both because of the huge number of people it impacts, but also because of the ripple effects it will continue to cause due to debilitating and chronic diseases. I can tell you that as chair of the County Commission, we are developing a strategic plan for our community's future. We're placing a tremendous emphasis on economic development and creating a landscape and environment where businesses want to locate and where entrepreneurs want to develop startups. And one area where we must be competitive is having skilled and a capable workforce for the types of jobs we want to grow. But obesity, as Dr. Holt referenced, can hurt us in this area too. Right here in America, businesses suffer losses of $4.3 billion each year because of obesity-related job absenteeism. The estimated annual cost of obesity-related illnesses are $190 billion and place a drain on employers' insurance cost. Solutions to the obesity epidemic must come in the form of multiple sources, multiple levels and sectors, and take into account the synergy of multiple strategies. We must take a look at changing our community's attitudes in areas such as eating habits and food purchases, educating children about nutrition, and getting people to embrace a healthy, active lifestyle. And I'd like to share with you some of the ways Hillsborough County is embracing this important mission. First of all, we like to think that we're practicing what we're preaching. The county, we have a very progressive health and wellness program for all county employees. Our program combines classes on nutrition, weight management, smoking cessation, and stress management. Regular cholesterol, blood pressure, and skin cancer screenings are also held. We have a full calendar, free classes of Zumba, although I'm not quite sure what Zumba is. More of a weightlifter, I guess, yoga, and other exercise programs for our employees at the county's fitness center. Secondly, we know that prevention is the key to combating obesity, and it starts at the youngest ages. I'm very proud to announce that last May of last year, Hillsborough County's Head Start and Early Head Start programs were among the 20 early education and child care programs recognized by First Lady Michelle Obama for our participation in the Let's Move Child Care Initiative. The program addresses the problem by providing healthy foods for children, engaging parents in menu planning, and partnering with programs that provide healthy foods and snacks at affordable prices. We also provide regular movement and exercise classes for our Head Start and Early Head Start infants, toddlers, and children. We're reaching more than 3,400 children and their families in our program and instilling a healthy, active lifestyle and diet. And we encourage others in the community to do the same. Our children grow gardens and learn about nutritious foods and how they help their bodies. And more initiatives like these are needed, and we at the county and the County Commission embrace and will continue to support them. Again, it's an honor to welcome you to today's summit.
If I may, I'm going to modify the agenda a little bit, and I'm not sure she's ready, but Ms. Valdez, would you like please come up and talk to us about the school district and our perspective, I think, critical partners in almost everything we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. This is an exciting event for me. When I saw this come up on the invite, I said, now this is exciting to see all of us come together and talk about something that's so important, and that is obesity, particularly in childhood. We've heard my colleagues say the increase in type 2 diabetes among children. And I don't know if you know this, but before being a school board member, I ran the Hillsborough County Public Health Care Programs Clinic on St. Joseph's Community Care Clinic. And that was an amazing position. Being able to reach out in the community, talk about the healthy choices at the adult level. And sometimes they think that just because it's a little bit too expensive to buy that bag of apples, when you go back and you share with them the cost of your health care, and by not eating right, and by not doing the things that you need to do to nourish your body, you're gonna wind up paying a lot more in co-payments. So that educational piece is very important. At the school board level, I tell you, we need your help. Because a few years ago, PE, physical education, was one of the things that got cut. We in the school board still do PE, of course. We do, we have to, because we believe in the fact that students need to be active. Besides the fact that they need to be active for their body, they need to give their teacher that break so then they can just spread all that energy and get it out their system so they can sit back down and do the schoolwork. But even in the elementary ages, you're seeing the students in the middle of their classroom just getting up and moving around, about maybe 5-minute activity, and just helping them to release those energies. We believe in good nutrition. We believe in teaching children the right foods to eat, and amazingly so in the middle school programs, we have some schools that have the culinary arts program, and right in there, they are learning about the different types of foods and meals and how to prepare a meal. You would be surprised how many students at the age of 12, 13 are actually helping their parents grocery shop and say, instead of this, let's do this because I've got a recipe. And it goes on through high school when they continue that course of becoming a chef and taking the culinary arts programs that we have. So the conversation that we're going to have today is very, very important and very dear to me. But by the same token, let's rally around and write letters to our legislators and talk about the importance of emphasizing physical education at our schools and reenacting even more so time for kids to be able to have these opportunities to be active during school. They have the strongest thumbs ever. And I think that really has hurt the ability of going outside and playing stickball. And I used to get in trouble as a kid because the boys needed a broomstick, or I'd go get the broomstick and we played stickball. So of course mom would be, where's the, mom, I used it to play stickball. Okay, Susie, all right, But those types of things aren't happening anymore. And I'm seeing more of it because of the youth. I'm a baseball mom. I love baseball. And the team sports are very important. I wish that every kid could participate in a team sport in high school and in middle school. But unfortunately, it is what it is. But together, collectively, working together as a community, we can make our community a lot healthier. Thank you very much to the Health Department for putting this summit together, and for my colleagues, Mayor Buckhorn and Commissioner Hagan, for partnering in, and together we can make this happen and become a healthier community.
Next, it's my honor to introduce Dean Donna Peterson. Donna, she's been here. She hasn't been here that long, but she's been long enough that I think she's been here forever. That's a sad statement, maybe, but it's a confusing one, I should say. But she came in, followed the footsteps of Charlie Mahan, has really energized the college, both internally but externally, and is, I think, is really one of the major catalysts that I've had the pleasure to work with and participate in a lot of things that she has both the vision but the practical side of getting it done. And I want to thank her at this forum for everything else she does. She also stepped in when we had to adjust our agenda, and has, in addition to presenting of us, will be facilitating. And so I want to personally thank her for that as well. But without further ado, Dean Donna Peterson.
Good morning. So it is wonderful to be here. I'm actually in my 9th year, so I have been here forever. I have been here forever. I've been here for all the good stuff, because this is a community that cares. This is a community that gets engaged. This is a community that gets stuff done. So I'm delighted to see so many of you here today to continue this really important conversation about obesity. Someone just mentioned to me that this is the 50th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. Is that not amazing? And you think back over that 50-year period and how much change we've witnessed in so many different areas of our lives. But what I always find interesting is when you watch film footage from the late 50s, early 60s, whether you're watching the Civil Rights Movement or Vietnam War protests or whatever, my daughter, I have a high school senior, will watch with me and say, "Mom, look at those people, they're all thin." And it's extraordinary that this phenomena has happened so quickly. So quickly, and I know you've seen the CDC maps, those wonderful maps of the country where they show, the percentage of the population that's obese, and it's very small, and then it gets bigger and it grows and it grows and it grows, and suddenly the whole country is just a blur of colored dots. And that's a remarkable phenomenon that we've witnessed in our own lives. So I think it was Dr. Holt said that sometimes the statistics paralyze us. It's like, this is so big. It's so overwhelming. What can we possibly do about it? But we must do something about it, and that's why we're here today. We are very grateful to the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, part of the National Academy of Sciences, which issues many of the seminal reports that provide us research findings and the opinions of thought leaders to inspire us to take action. And we're using that report, their latest report, as a blueprint for our meeting today. We know, and we've heard a little bit about the state of the problem. We know what the problem is. I know we used to debate a lot about where this problem came from. As I said, it happened pretty quickly, and there's lots of theories out there about why this happened. Everything from it was the women in the families going back to work, and that changed the way we eat. There's some suggestion that the whole emphasis on crime, child kidnappings and people being afraid, and kept people forced people to keep their children inside. The growth of fast food, high-calorie, cheap food. My sister thinks it's when they put cup holders in cars. This is what led to the obesity epidemic. The loss of recess and PE time in schools. I mean, all these things that we know. But the point is, it really doesn't matter anymore. It's too late for us to figure that out, and it really doesn't matter. What matters is what we're going to do about it today. And today is different from where we were 50 years ago. It's a different world. It's a different culture. It's a different context. So we do need to come together and talk about solutions. So that's what today is about. How do we speed up our progress? Because we can't wait. How do we speed up our progress in reducing the weight of the citizens of the county? And it's an interesting title, Reducing the Weight of Hillsborough County. Could we weigh the county? Could we weigh the whole county and then track how we lose weight? It would be a kind of fun thing to do. We might have our own reality TV show. I don't know. I don't know. But the point is, this is an urgent call, and we do need to collaborate. And I'm delighted to see so many people here, including our elected officials, and from all different sectors of society, because we do have to come together, because this is so complicated. This is so complex. There are so many factors, and there are so many opportunities to fail, that we've got to come together and be in sync. I've been thinking a lot lately in a variety of things that I have the real pleasure of getting involved in, that it's at the handoffs that we fail. It's where we miss the connection. So thanks to our school board, Hillsborough County's done a wonderful job. You heard from a member of the school board. They've introduced healthier foods. They're trying to get PE back in. They've reduced the amount of fast food available to children. But they can't do it alone, because those children don't live at school full-time. They go home, and they go to a community that may have had a sweet bay that no longer has one. I mean, these are things that are happening right now. How did we miss that handoff? How do we miss the handoffs from health care, where we say, oh, this child may be gaining too much weight. Okay, but then what's the next step? How do we connect? Where else do we spend our time? We spend our time in the community. We spend our time in churches, and all of us need to come together. All of us need to come together. So that's what today's about. You heard the goals for the summit. We are engaging sectors, and a lot of you are here. It's great to see so many friends here. We are focusing on systems approaches. Again, it can't be one thing over here, one thing over here, one thing over here. There have to be things everywhere, and they have to connect. We have to make those pieces fit together and work. And then we need to speed up the progress. And again, I'm really proud to be part of this community because we've done a lot of good things. You've heard from some of our elected officials what we've done. We've already thanked the school boards. The mayor has been expanding walking trails. The health department STEPS program, which many of you were involved with, has some long-lasting impact. The Take Half Home effort, when you go to a restaurant and you have the option that they'll just serve you half your meal, you take the other half home. That's spread to other counties. A number of our churches have planted community gardens. They're nurturing them. They're using them as part of their parish efforts. And the business community, we heard about some employee wellness programs. Another set of businesses are adapting what had been a community-based program called GIFT, Get Into Fitness Today. It was a community initiative using lay workers. It's now moving into business places. And the other interesting thing about GIFT, it was designed as a preventive intervention, but a lot of people who have participated in GIFT have actually lost weight. So even though it was designed to keep people from putting on weight in the first place, it's helping people lose weight, and that's all great. So there are things happening in this community, but we have to do more. So today is an important day, and we thank you for being here. And I'm going to tell you right now, we need you to stay all day. I know people like to say, well, I'll just listen to the great speakers in the morning and then I'll slip out at lunch. No, we need you to stay. The great speakers this morning are going to further inspire us and give us great ideas so that we can do the work that needs to be done in the afternoon. In fact, it's almost a frustration that we're all captivated here in this room because we need to be out doing things. But the point of today is to make sure we're doing those things in concert and doing those things in meaningful ways that are effective and efficient at the same time. So you've got your agenda in front of you, and I think it lays out pretty clearly what I've just said. We are going to hear from some outstanding experts in the field. We'll have a nice lunch and continue the dialogue focusing on childhood obesity at lunch, and then we'll move into breakout sessions. And the breakout sessions follow the Institute of Medicine report, which we'll hear more about in a few moments, and that report outlines areas for action, and so the breakout sessions have been designed to address each of those action areas. We will encourage you to be wildly creative and think broadly within a systems approach. It's okay if you have an idea for another group. That's okay, because we want all the ideas that we can get from here. And then we'll come back together, we'll hear the great ideas that you've had, and we'll use audience response systems. I don't know if any of you have done that, where you get to vote, and you get an instant tally of what people are thinking. So in a way, it's fun, it's exciting. In another, it's sort of sad when your great idea gets no votes. That's just really sad. But it's okay, because all those ideas will be captured. And the point is not to start ranking things or her idea was better than his idea. It's really about trying to set some priorities and some action steps that we can engage in now, so that when we leave here today, we wake up tomorrow morning with a new item on our to-do list. This is something that we need to do from this. So, as I said, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I see a lot of friends in the audience, which is great, because you people have stayed with this issue. You continue to work on it. You're not discouraged. And that's really exciting, because this will take all of us working together. You notice cameras. The morning part of the program is being beamed across the state, and we've got lots of folks that will view these important lectures from across the state. And during the question and answer period this morning, we will be taking questions from our people that view this, not with us today, but we're happy that you're here. Those of you that are watching off-site, there are people wherever you are that can help you apply for CEUs, so we encourage you to do that. And those of you that are here can do that outside. So, you know, I'm from the College of Public Health. I see several alums here, and some of our faculty are here. And that's always wonderful, because we are your resource for this region. And you all know, and I say this every time I give a talk, that we're about health, which is a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. It's not enough to not be sick. We want people to be well. And being well involves feeling good. I just read a very interesting article in the American Journal of Public Health that despite the growth in overweight and obesity, where the majority of adults are overweight and obese, a huge proportion of children are overweight and obese, children are still teased horribly if they're overweight. And that has implications. Young children, that's now been shown to be linked to eating disorders as they get older. So it's not just obesity leading to childhood obesity leading to adult obesity, leading to all these chronic illnesses, but there are immediate threats to the health of our children and their self-esteem and therefore their well-being. Public health is what we do collectively as societies to create those conditions in which people can be healthy. So this is like the best example of public health, where we come together collectively and say, what are we going to do that's different for this community, that's going to make a difference for this community, that's going to provide those opportunities for everyone in this community to enjoy that state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. That's what this is about. So I'm delighted to be with you today. I will be your moderator for the day. Well, we are delighted to have two members of the Institute of Medicine panel on accelerating progress in obesity prevention, solving the weight of the nation. Again, the IOM, part of the National Academies of Science, really is an important entity because they have the luxury of bringing experts together and addressing issues that are either persistent or emerging. This is both. And we have with us two members of that committee. One was a co-chair of the committee, and I love that they're both here and that they come from such distinct and diverse backgrounds. Dr. Ellen Wartella is a professor of communication psychology and human development and social policy at Northwestern University. She was a member of the committee, is currently chairing a front of package marketing study, which is an interesting educational tool to try to inform people about their food. Bill Purcell is an attorney who's been in the public service for a long time, 5 terms in the Tennessee House. He was mayor of Nashville. Did a stint at Harvard in their Institute of Politics, served as director there, as lecturer in public policy at the Harvard Kennedy School. And so I love that combination. You have a lawyer, a politician, you have a researcher, a scientist, coming together to help us understand what we might do to speed up progress in reducing obesity. So with that, I will ask Dr. Wartella and Mr. Purcell to join us on stage. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for a kind introduction, not simply the introduction that you heard of us, but for us to have some sense of who is in the room and to know that you have not simply assembled the usual suspects, but assembled exactly the right people for this important work. It's an honor and a privilege, I know, for both Dr. Wartella and for me to be in such good company here today and be part of this Community Action Summit. And to know that in the room is not just the Department of Health, but to have had the mayor here, the mayor projecting, as I understood it, that he has another 6 years to get this job done, and that's a very good thing for a mayor to know at any time in their careers. To have the chairman of the county commission, Ken Hagan, and then to have here with us, not just for the beginning, but for this work, your school board member, Susan Valdez, tells me a lot about the commitment of this community to its children, but also to this particular work. And let me just acknowledge that having been a mayor, I was also the son of a school board member, and I am satisfied that being on the school board anywhere in America is the hardest work that anyone ever does, and the area in which I think the recognition is the least, but in the end, the opportunity is the greatest. And then finally, Dean Donna Peterson's efforts, not just to convene us, but to lead us, and then also to control us. I saw that, and I was impressed fully by that effort. There's many reasons, I think, why this is an ideal time for us to gather. I note from my faith tradition that this is Lent, and Lent, it strikes me, is a pretty ideal time, if that is a part of your own background, to talk about obesity. This Lent in particular, because we know more than we have ever known before about where we are in this epidemic and what we need to do. And then to think, not just a little bit, think a lot about where Tampa and Hillsborough County are, where Florida is, and where in the end you could be. This morning we're going to focus obviously on where we find America to be, but the great charge and challenge for you is to know both where Hillsborough County is and then ultimately where you want to take this place. I heard a lot of good visioning and high hopes at the start. Hopefully you don't have simply that at the end, but a sense of what more can occur. As a reminder, it's little more than a decade ago. It's 2001 when the Surgeon General, David Satcher, for a time of Nashville and Meharry, declared that there is an obesity epidemic in America. There are many other dates and times that you might think about, but for our purposes, I think it's that 2001 declaration that for the first time challenges all of us to understand what's happening in a way that we hadn't before, and recognizing then the existence of an epidemic, obviously the need, not just for public health, but for the nation to do something about it. So where are we? This is a rather simple graphic, the kind of thing that scientists look at all the time. We know straightforwardly that calorie consumption is up. We know that portion sizes have increased and increased and increased and then increased again. We know that sugar-sweetened beverage consumption is up. We know many things, as was pointed out before, changes that have occurred in our world, from smoking cessation to the ubiquity of bagels. Lots of things have happened. Each of us, I hadn't heard cup holders in cars, but there are many things that changed that could all be a part of this picture. But bottom line, we know physical activity has decreased. Among both kids and adults, sedentary activity has increased as a result of the hours that we spend often in rooms like this. And the consequences, you've heard them, but you can't hear them enough, and I can't remind myself enough about these hard, stark numbers. 1 out of 3 children are overweight or obese. 2 out of 3 adults. And again, one snapshot, many different ways the data can be looked at, but to just think about this period of time I just referenced, this 10, 12, 13 years. In 1999, it was slightly more than 50% of adults who were overweight or obese. 25% were obese 12 years ago, and now you see the numbers. From 1980 to 1999, the number of obese children doubled in America. In 1999, the number was 40 million. And then from there, the work that you have done and will continue to do on local data, we believe, is critical. Because there's a tendency, I think, in every part of America to think that somehow when we look at charts like this, it's not me. It's somewhere else. It's in Appalachia. It's in some other city, or it's some other group. It's some other place. It's somebody else's job. Somebody I should worry about, but in the end, it's not me. And the hard reality is, and the people in this room, I think, know this particularly well, it is everyone. To have Hillsborough County remind us right at the beginning that it is the #1 public health challenge reminds us again, it's everywhere, it's all of us, it's right now, and it's continuing. And the consequences, while again known, are worth, I think, restating each and every time we have a chance to do it. And certainly our committee focused on them as well. Cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, we'll focus a little more on that in a moment. High blood pressure, sleep apnea, depression. The dean touched a bit on that issue, but for our children, but also for adults, the stigma that comes with obesity, the low self-esteem, and then frankly the functional effect, the results of unemployment or certainly reduced productivity and all of the problems associated with obesity. One specific set of consequences that are, I think, at the lead in terms of striking numbers, the reality that now 37% of all adults are pre-diabetic, that an estimated 11% of adults have type 2 diabetes now, and that 37% That 37% that are pre-diabetic are on their way there. When we estimate or take these numbers forward, it's estimated that 1/3 of all children born today will develop type 2 diabetes in their lifetime. And within that statistic, it's believed that that will include 1/2 of all Latino and African American children. And the cost of this epidemic is extraordinary. Actually, the cost, I think, is incredible. The notion that 21% of all medical spending in America is associated with obesity-related illness. When you put a hard number to that, and you heard it earlier, $190.2 billion a year. You look at the number on the right-hand side, it seems small compared to the other, but this is $4.3 billion in estimated business losses just from absenteeism, not connected with the health costs on the other side of the equation. And frankly, there are a whole other set of costs that you may think about and focus on either today or in the days ahead that do not fall within any of these kinds of statistics, but things that we begin to observe in our world and at some point need to capture. To come through an airport is to be reminded that we've had to replace, as you know, in the hospitals, I'm sure, of this county and state, we've replaced almost all the wheelchairs because the old wheelchairs just weren't large enough anymore. When we get on an airplane, we see now the flight attendants routinely reach for the seatbelt extenders so that people just simply can be within their own seatbelts. Let me tell you what happened in Nashville, a cost that I can't quantify for you, but it's just that kind of thing that happens. We bought new fire trucks. I was so proud. A new mayor with new fire trucks. Terrific ribbon-cutting ceremony. I wish you could have been there. It was a beautiful day. Fire trucks lined up the courthouse behind us. We dispatched the fire trucks out to the fire halls, and within days, the fire chief came back and said, "We have a problem." I said, "What could be the problem with the new wonderful fire trucks?" Well, who knew that the new fire trucks had smaller seatbelts in them? And when the engineers came to get behind these new seatbelts, a significant number of the firefighters no longer could fit within the seatbelts in the new fire trucks. And we had to now spend time and energy reassigning firefighters within the county of Davidson based upon the size of the seatbelts in those fire trucks. The list of these kinds of things, new investments now in larger seats in airplanes so that you don't have to have larger seatbelts or so that you could actually have your seat to yourself. These are things that are happening in our economy, not easily quantified, but real every day in business. The Committee on Accelerating Progress on Obesity Prevention had a very specific charge, which you see here, and Donna Peterson highlighted it. The urgency of the situation, it was believed and we believe now, requires speeding up the progress in arresting this epidemic. There have been quite a number of promising interventions, of suggestions, both very physical and scientific, that have been proposed over the course of the decade we're discussing, but the progress has been slow. And when you talk about the signs of progress, they tend to be signs like a leveling off or a modest decrease. In any other kind of epidemic, and you've lived through a number of them in this county and in your work as we have in this country, leveling off or a modest decrease doesn't come close to victory. And in this case, the Institute of Medicine and the committee itself came in very much aware of the numbers, where we were headed, and most importantly, where we had arrived at the beginning of this meeting. And so first we were to review all of the past recommendations that had occurred and think about indicators of progress in order to implement these actions, or put another way, so now what do we do? This is a list of the committee members, and the good news is that everyone but me was very smart and had incredible credentials in the fields of science which are most directly related here. You'll find our chair was Dan Glickman. Dan was a congressman for a number of years from Kansas, became the Secretary of Agriculture, and in that role was very knowledgeable about food policy, has gone on to be involved with the Aspen Institute and the Bipartisan Policy Center. The other vice chair was Marcy Greenwood, who is now leading the University of Hawaii system, but had been at the University of California as well. But they come from both academics, not just both. They come from academics, industry, public policy, and media. David Britt, for example, had been critical to the establishment of Sesame Street and involved with the Sesame Street workshop. It was a most diverse committee to look at, this diverse set of recommendations that had occurred. To give you fast background on the Institute of Medicine itself, it is a part of the National Academy of Sciences, and it's worth, I think, being reminded that the NAS was chartered by Congress and signed into being by President Lincoln in 1863. The charge of the National Academy of Science at that time and today was to investigate, examine, experiment, and report upon any subject of science or art. The NAS created the Institute of Medicine in 1970, and the specific charge there was to examine matters pertaining to the health of the public. For the last decade, basically, the IOM committees have been studying and reporting on the epidemic in a sequential way and also in parallel ways that are reflected in this report. The report I'll discuss today, issued, and that Dr. Wartella will begin, in fact, specifically discussing in a moment, was issued in May of last year by the committee, and we said at the time that we believe that this set of recommendations are the solution to the obesity epidemic. We were charged to accelerate progress, but the truth is, the committee, like everyone in this room, wants to end this epidemic.